All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Three Birds and a Punt. I am Afia and I am joined by my co-host John. Say hey, bro.
Hey, hey.
All right. The title of our episode today is called Harden Day because James Harden is playing tonight at 8 p.m. wherever you get your Sixers game. So we know we got to talk about that. Um, we are happy to announce, the Three Birds are happy to announce that we have partnered with AmazeMedia Labs to be the official Eagles podcast for the Pigskin Network. Okay, you can find Three Birds and a Punt on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Megaphone, or wherever you get your podcast. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Three Birds and a Punt. Okay, if you look down below, you can see at Three Birds and a Punt. Don't please download and subscribe to our show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. And I'm so excited to have my bro here, John, today. We're missing 1/3 of the group, Whip. He's out, but we're gonna hold it down tonight in honor of our bro, uh, Whip. How you doing tonight, John?
Not bad, not bad. Salutations, family. Uh hope you had a wonderful week. It's good to be back at it with the oh my goodness, so much to talk about. Some good content and um I'm just excited. I'm through the moon. It's like Christmas all over again.
Right? I'm so excited to be back and be hosting a show weekly with my bros so that we can really tap into everything that's going around in sports. And even though the Eagles season is over, there's still so much going on that we have to talk about to just make sure that our fans are kept current with all the news that's going on. We always got you with that. And we had Bird Game 31 out here tonight with us. How you doing? We appreciate you being here tonight, Bird Game. And we're just gonna start with honestly the biggest news in Philadelphia today, which is James Harden debuting for the Sixers. We're winning a championship. It's done. We already know.
Speaking into existence.
Right, exactly,
It's
right. I have to have
existence.
the confidence. We are, right? It's already done. Okay. And we just have so much to talk about as far as what to expect from James Harden, what to expect from JoJo, just the team overall, and just how you think tonight is gonna go. So I was really happy and excited to talk with you tonight, my resident basketball phenom. John knows everything there's about the NBA and this stat. So what do you expect out of the game tonight? How are you feeling about James Harden and his addition to the Sixers?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm tempering my emotions a little bit. Um, James Harden.
Really?
James Harden's last two debuts with new teams, when he debuted with Houston, he had 39 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds. When he debuted with the Nets, 39 points, 14 assists. So I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere in the middle there. I could. Minnesota's tough. Minnesota, that's always been a tough game. We lost to them in overtime when a few weeks back when Joel came back from COVID. Joel had 42 points and we lost in overtime. But I think Harden adds a dimension that we haven't had. He's the the best player Joel's ever played with, and I think the fit is perfect. Honestly,
Mhm.
he's a good facilitator. That's something that people miss. People say, "Oh, he lost the step." Not really. He's been dealing with the hamstring and soft tissue injuries for a while. Um, he's going to demand a double team, which means who's going to double team Joel. So it's almost like pick your poison. I think his presence alone is going to elevate us. And the Sixers were already playing good without him, and without the person that's no longer in Philly anymore. But great addition. Like, to get an all time player as we make a postseason push going forward, and he's all in. I believe he him and Daryl Morey's relationship really like help matters. It really help matters and will continue to help. I think the sky's the limit as long as they play sound defense. Um, the scoring's going to be there. Scoring's
Yeah,
going to be there.
absolutely. I feel like you say, the biggest thing we've been missing is scoring, and JoJo has taken his scoring ability to the next level this season. So that has helped in a lot of ways, but he needs help. He can't be, honestly, I know there is this sort of expectation that he has to be doing, 30 plus a night, but realistically, we want him to be in his peak condition for the playoffs. So as much as we want him to win the MVP, as much as we love him being the leading scorer in the league and all those things, the biggest, most impactful thing we need from JoJo is to remain as healthy as he possibly can, as spry as he possibly can, and have help. And that's why we got James Harden, because I think that at the end of the day, shoot, and that is something that we do not have to worry about with James Harden. And I think that that's going to just open up so much space for Joel. You frequently see him getting, triple teamed. There's just always double coverage or triple coverage on him, and I think now with James Harden there, they're not going to do that.
I agree. It's going to take a lot of pressure off Joel. They could both just play their game organically. Other guys, Tobias, Tyrese Maxey. Oh my goodness, the possibilities are endless. Guys are going to get
Yeah.
off.
Right. And I do think that the biggest thing that he'll bring too is just a competitive spirit. Like one thing, I guess, I mean, I do understand that there's this narrative out there that James Harden checks out. Um, but I can understand, checking out of a job that's maybe not necessarily satisfying me. I mean, we've already had a player that's done that in certain ways before, but he's never lost his ability, right? He just needs to feel competitive. And I think that that's something that the Sixers can offer him consistently, because that's one thing you're always going to get from JoJo. You're never going to get Joel Embiid backing down from the criticism, backing down from the trash talk, backing down. That fuels him, that fires him, and that is the thing that he's gonna get every night when he steps out on the court as a 76er, because we love our team, but we do not go easy on the team.
It's amazing. He's blossoming right in front of us into a superstar. He was already a star, and we knew his potential. But the way he's grown since the birth of his son Arthur is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and people wanted to, people. I was going back and reading some of the takes of some of the media pundits when the Sixers drafted Joel. They're like, "Oh, I would have taken who was the player? Noah Vonleh over Joel Embiid," and I'm like, that tweet did not age too well. And
No, it's
Joel
not.
is he's somebody to build upon. Vonleh over. You heard that
Would
too?
you? No, I'm sorry. Pause. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm just excited to see his continued growth with the best possible option. Now, there was a story today that came out saying that he pushed hard for Bradley Beal.
I saw that. What are your take on that?
He really likes Bradley Beal. Like, if you think about it, all the times the Sixers have faced the Wizards,
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Beal is like kicking our tail, and we
Yeah.
got Matisse Thybulle on him, and he's still making shots. Like, there was a game earlier this year that went down to the wire against the Wizards, and something in that game like showed me like, dang, I can see him fitting in here. I can see him being here,
Right.
and there were reports that the Sixers weren't done adding in the offseason. And I mentioned that in the last pod that they could potentially go after Beal too in the offseason.
It would
That
be
would be
interesting. I
crazy.
think, didn't Bill? If I correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Bill having like season-ending surgery right now?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. He's
So
done
I
for the
mean,
year.
I would be interested to see what could come of that, because I do think like I like the idea of having a good big three, and Tobias. I love Tobias, man. I love
Me
Tobias,
too.
but he's
He's
not
a glue
not
guy.
cutting it anymore. He's not cutting it anymore. So
Toby's a
I'm really into that idea of us kind of like upgrading a little bit. So I wouldn't be mad at it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I'm. We'll have to see how this season ends up playing out. Because Beal's hurt. Who knows what that rehab will look like, and how he may be impacted by that. So we definitely have to hedge our bets. I'm just going to be excited about the fact that we have James Harden.
No,
I did not think we'd get to, like, honestly, to me it was just that thing that was talked about to create a story and a buzz and a this and a third, and because of just all the extenuating factors, we were just never gonna land Harden. But kudos to Maury for sticking to his guns and holding out on Ben, knowing that he could use Ben to get James Harden.
I agree. It was refreshing to see a GM make a smart, like, but risky move
Mhm.
during the season. Like that shows a lot, and I'm excited with the direction of the team. Now we don't have a first round pick this coming draft, but I don't think we need one. I think we have a core group of guys, and the main thing from this trade is that we keep that young core together.
Mhm.
People are so easy to add Matisse, well, not necessarily Matisse, but Shake or Korkmaz or Isaiah Joe to some of those trade proposals that were out there. People running mock trades. Those guys are going to be the future, I think. Shake could potentially be a Jamal Crawford off the bench for them. Korkmaz can be um, like a Ginobili for them. Isaiah Joe could be a guy like a Hersey Hawkins was for the old Sixers, this
I like that.
reliable 3-and-D dude. Um, Jordan, they gotta extend George's Niang. George Niang,
Oh,
great,
the
great.
the van. Yeah, it would be. It's definitely going to be interesting. I do like the group. I think it's a good group. I will be interested to see what Harden does to the mix, like putting because sometimes I feel like the biggest liability is the coach. Like we have a good team, we just don't know how to put them in the best position for the full course of the game. Um, and that's where we end up. I think always losing games we should win because we have a history of a record of a pattern of establishing big leads and then slowly seeing those leads just chip away just due to bad um sub management by Doc. So that's something I'm going to be interested to see if that you know rotate that terrible rotation that he keeps pushing out there game after game continues.
That's so key because we had a lead. We had 11-point lead, and then they come with a unit that's without Joel and Maxi, and that lead is just eviscerated. And then we're down 13. I'm like, how do you go? How do you go from being up 11 to down 8, and then down? They call a timeout, then down 13, and like the bleeding doesn't stop. I'm like, something has to give. Like that
Yeah,
Boston game the other night.
yeah.
That Boston game the other night. Ooh, that was a ooh. If there was that, I think that will go down as the worst loss of the season. That
Hmm.
Boston game.
And it's
Jalen Brown.
what's upsetting is that you could probably point to a number of games this season and last season where we could say that was the worst loss. Like, how did they lose that lead? We scored like so. It's endemic. To me, that means that it's a pattern, and therefore, it would be very interesting to see what will happen when James Harden is on the court, and then we can sort of put Maxi a little bit in that second unit a little bit more, and then we can kind of maybe keep up the intensity, because Maxi's like an energizer buddy on that court. So I
Mhm.
do think that I feel like James and Joel's like more like pace will blend well together, and then Maxon will keep up the intensity in that second unit, which will work well. So we'll definitely have to see. So um, I'm excited. I know you're excited. I know all Eagles and Sixers fans, all of the tri-state area is excited, and we'll see. We got 8 minutes left, and the game's on. So let's dive into, of course, what we are primarily here about, the Eagles, my birds. I want to kind of tap into our upcoming draft. Our draft needs. We have 3 first round picks. I think this is a going to be a consistent story up until the draft. Like, what are we going to do? What do we need? Who are we targeting? I think we're going to be talking to a lot of prospects, especially when the combine comes in, just because we have those 3 first round picks and that we can really utilize them extremely well. So, John, what do you feel like we need the Eagles this upcoming draft, and where do you think we'll be looking to target in the draft? I think I think John might be a little frozen a little bit. I don't mind starting. For me, the biggest need overall is defense. Primarily the Eagles are a um, primarily the Eagles are a defensive line and then corner, and then they kind of like figure out the rest out in terms of their team, the defensive layout. And I'm not mad at it, I would say, but I'm not happy with it. I think we need to invest more in the linebackers. I think we need to invest more in the safeties. I think we need to invest more in the corners. So my priorities in the draft, thinking about what we need, having 10 picks, having 3 first round picks, is I want to go defensive end, or safety, or linebacker. I want one of those picks to be used on those positions, because I think it is a need that should and must be addressed as soon as possible. You know what we absolutely cannot afford, again, is to have a leaky defense, and I think that's something that has been apparent. We've been able to disguise it with a good line, but our line's aging. Brandon Graham, unfortunately, was injured and he was out for an entire season. Fletcher Cox is not the same Fletcher Cox that he used to be. He's just not. He used to be in the conversation with Aaron Donald, and now you never hear their names compared with each other. So while I love Fletch and everything he's done for us, he's just not. He's not giving what he used to give. Let's just keep it real there. I like some of these new guys. I like the signing of Javon Hargrave, but again, that's a free agent. We need to be developing our own homegrown talents. And honestly, how much do you really trust Howie Roseman to do that when you look at some of the defensive ends that he's drafted since Brandon Graham, which was not his pick, it was an Andy Reid pick, and you can kind of see his efforts are pretty much abysmal. Thinking about Marcus Smith, thinking about Derek Barnett, um, thinking about um, all the plethora of the defensive ends that sort of flamed out with us. So that's a need that we need to target in the draft, is defense, and going with the linebackers, or the safeties. I think Rodney McLeod. Let's look at that. He's coming off of a good year, coming off of his ACL, where everybody's getting a little older. That second spot is not at all solidified. There's a lot of impermanence in that second spot. And then you look at our linebackers, and they're being nice, they're serviceable, but realistically, they're terrible. And I think in a John Gannon defense, you need an impactful linebacker. So one thing I will say to Howie's credit is that he does like to build a team that's catered to his coach's needs. Um, his success in that is debatable, but he does try to build a team that caters to his coach's needs. So I would assume that we are definitely going to be we're definitely going to be adding a a linebacker in this draft, and I want us to address it early in the first 2 rounds. I don't want us to wait. I don't want us to lose out on a generational prospect because we were obsessed with the offense as always, and I think we really need to address that. That's something that I really want to look at. So if I'm looking at my defense, my top three defensive needs in this draft are 100% going to be um, the linebackers, the safeties, and the defensive end. And my boy John is back because my
Sorry.
voice is dry.
Lord.
That happens when you go live, guys. And life is a host of wonders. So my boy John is back, and he's gonna give us his list of the Eagles draft needs. John, what you got? All right, there's still a little technical difficulties with John. He'll be right back with us. So I'll just continue on with what I was saying. So I already got the defense, and now we'll kind of look to the offensive side of the ball. And if I'm addressing the offensive needs, I want to look at first. Honestly, I think sneakily we need to be looking at that right guard position. So I wouldn't mind an offensive lineman, but not in one of the first round picks. Like we have a habit of drafting linemen, whether that's defense or offense, high in the first round. I'm just not sold on this idea of using a high first round pick on an old lineman right now. I think we could address other way more needs. And John is gone again, but he'll be back. He'll be back. Don't worry. And meanwhile, your girl Fia's holding it down for the three birds. Always streaming, always talking, always got something to say on her birds. Okay, and so one of the things that we also can look at too is the tight end position. I think we need to address the fact that behind Dallas Goddard we don't really have anybody. I'm not sure if I want to address it in the draft because I think we just paid Dallas. We just put some money in it. I don't want the same situation with Zach to happen again, but I do think that that's a sneaky need that we may fail to address. Wide receiver, as always, again is a need that I think we need to be looking at, and running back. I think is something that we need to be looking at. I know the Eagles have traditionally devaluated the running back position, and I can understand why. Over the course of their career, you see a lot of bargain. So I wouldn't mind them, waiting a little bit to the mid rounds to start addressing those specific areas. But I do think the defense has to come first. I hope you guys notice that I did not mention the QB position at all as of yet. I don't think we need to be drafting a QB in this draft unless they absolutely love him. Unless they absolutely love him. I'd be totally for trading one of these picks just to keep our options open for next year's draft because I hear that one's a better QB rich draft and just sort of either rolling the dice with Jalen for one more season, which couldn't hurt our draft position, I don't think, or using one of these picks to land a big franchise level QB, maybe a Russell Wilson type QB. That's be something I'd be extremely interested in. Because I do think with 3 first round picks, it just offers so much flexibility, so much so much space to maneuver, and so it will be very interesting. I think we all know how I feel about Howie Roseman and how he basically isn't the best GM when it comes to drafting. But people have talked over and over, and my guy John is back. Thank you, John. Thank you for coming back. No worries. This is live, and we're here, and we're here to have technical difficulty. You know how I feel about Howie Roseman, so I can imagine that there's a sense that there's always narratives built that Howie's building a better team than he's actually building. I think that it's everybody was happy that we made the playoffs this year. I was happy we made the playoffs, but at the same time, I almost wonder if that's the peak, because you know Howie's tenures with coaches have their peaks, and so I'm wondering if is this the peak of his tenure with Nick Sirianni, or it's just the beginning. We'll have to see. Um, the the personnel grouping on paper looks great. It looks like a very strong personnel front office, but at the end of the day, when you get down in there, and Jeff Lurie's sitting there, and he's hearing about some prospect, because ESPN or the NFL Network is upselling him, and he's like, I want to go with that one. I mean, I can see how he's doing it because he's done it before, so it'll be very interesting to see. I think prepare to be, as Eagles fans, prepare to be frustrated, because I think that's something that is a consistent narrative when it comes to the GM of the Eagles. But I'm gonna let John speak now because I am wiped. Okay, John, what is your take on the Eagles draft? What do you see our needs being, and how do you anticipate the draft night going?
We need a Sam linebacker.
Hmm.
Jannard Avery played admirable this year when he flashed, but I think to really win in this league, you need three linebackers. We have two really good ones, and they could always. I could see them going with the Devin Lloyd, who I personally am a huge fan of out of University of Utah. Mentioned him on the last show. Um, Ahmad Gardner, they call him Sauce from University of Cincinnati. Lean shutdown corner could be great developmental corner opposite of Slay. Um, I mean, you can go Jordan Davis, the defensive lineman from University of Georgia. I think would be a great fit. It kind of reminds me of Jerome Brown when Jerome Brown came out. There's a big body dude, not really a two gapper, like a one gapper. He's gonna stuff the run, get up the field. Um, those three guys are my personal favorites, and I think they will be available at 15, 16, and 19. Now, like you mentioned before, will we remain put to take all three selections? I'm not sure. I think it will be wise to use one of those picks to add ammo for next year's draft in the event that we do decide to go with Jalen, which I think they will. They give him another year. I think next year's quarterback class will be great. Like you mentioned in the last pod, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. There's some really good guys coming out next year's draft at the quarterback position that the Eagles could potentially get. And I th- receiver on if we go 3 years straight of drafting a receiver, which it looks like we could, because there's some good ones. There, you have Burks from Arkansas. That dude's a big. His his uh his physical profile is similar to Alshon Jeffrey, like faster Alshon Jeffrey. Then you have the Ohio State guys, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Two really good receivers that you could plug in day one opposite of Devontae Smith. I think this offseason, it's imperative to get a number two receiver opposite of Devontae because Quez Watkins is a good number three. He has the potential to be a good number two. And the work that he put in the offseason, I think down the line, I think he could potentially grow to become a number two. But I think right now we need the number two receiver.
You see, this is exactly why I needed John here tonight, right? Because while I can talk all the abstract like positions I want, he giving you names. Okay, he's telling you prospects to look out for. He's making sure you understand what who's on the radar, who you should be targeting, and what name to look out for on draft night. So that's why we love to have John Monroe Jr. give us his take on the NFL and the draft. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I was talking while you were having, getting back on with us. I was talking about how we need a linebacker, and I think Jonathan Gannon's defense needs an impact linebacker. And to Howie's credit, that is something that he does attempt to do. He tries to build a team that caters to his coach's, scheme specifications. So I do think that, there are a lot of good defensive players in this draft this year, and it would really really benefit the Eagles to look into, for the first time since the I don't know what, since the 60s or something, drafting a linebacker.
1979.
Would you say
1979.
1979? Okay, so I think it would really like Jeff Lurie didn't even own the team back then. That's how long it's been since we've drafted a linebacker. So I just think, I mean, sorry, a linebacker in the first round. So I just do think that we really need to stop bargain hunt in that position. Like, we treat it like the running back position. Like any plug and play, any dimer does it. And you usually need three of them on the field at once. It's not like you're playing 13 person.
That's true. Or running a 4-2-5 like in college, like
Right.
nickel defense the entire. But you know what? The league, the way the league is trending, every team's coming out with three receivers.
Hmm.
So I think to mask that, they're coming out more 4-2-5, 3-3-5 with multiple guys on the edge and on the outside. It's
I
it's
think
the
the
passing league now.
I think the
Teams
most I think sorry to cut you off, but I'm kind of thinking on it. I'm like, now that Malcolm Jenkins is gone, we really recognize how valuable his utility was to us, because he played that pseudo linebacker role as well as that safety position. So it really afforded us this ability to, like you say, kind of take a linebacker off the field, put a little bit more speed and agility on the field for those three wide receivers, maybe that extra tight end. And in which case, with the linebackers, a lot of these tight ends are built to outmuscle these linebackers these days. So you really have to have a linebacker that can cover and have enough speed to I mean, and tackle well. And I do think that we tend to find one or the other, but we have not made any effort in being able to find both, and especially that dynamic playmaking ability, that ability to roam the middle of the field and cause a little bit of interception and get in these lanes and be instinctive. Like, we really, honestly, I feel like I haven't seen it in a tangible way since Jordan Hicks. Nigel Bradham once in a while here and there, but like, not really. And I think we need it.
I agree. That's I pounded. If I was a GM, Devin Lloyd would be one of those first two picks for me. That dude, either him, you can't go wrong with a Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. That dude is a bullet, and you could plug him anywhere. But you mentioned safeties. There's some really good safeties coming out. Kyle Wilson from Notre Dame. He's a Ronnie Lott, big safety, but can cover a lot of ground. Um, Going back to the national championship champion Georgia Bulldogs,
Mm.
Louis Dean is a safety I like too. He reminds me of Dawkins a lot. Like the
Oh, really?
dude, he's an eraser. He's Malcolm. That's what this defense is missing. That true eraser, that quasi linebacker that can come in and erase anything you flow in the flat or over the middle. Like, that's what we're missing. And
Mm.
those two guys at safety, that they're foundational pieces, and we can get them. And I hope Howie
I mean,
trusts.
look, to me, this is a decent, like I agree with you. I think we're on the same page. It's a defensive laden draft. I think we need to focus. There are more pieces solidified on the offensive side of the ball than there are on the defensive side of the ball. And where there are questions on the offensive side of the ball, like quarterback, like wide receiver, like maybe even running back, they can be addressed in other ways. whereas the defense maybe cannot, at least not at a bargain. Because we're targeting areas that have starting to come up to become premiums. The defensive end position is at a premium. I understand the linebacker maybe might fall on style, but every now and again, I don't know. Micah Parsons just won defensive rookie of the year. You can't tell me that linebackers are falling out of style. I just can't agree with you there. So I'm just very curious to see what the Eagles do, what moves they'll make, and how they'll kind of, I mean, they are in line to really make an impact in this draft with 3 picks. So it'll be very interesting to see what Howie does.
Very true. I'm excited. Hopefully they trust the board, trust the research they put in, and they pick the right players to fit us. And I,
Absolutely, no doubt.
I pray it happens. We know how
Yeah,
Howie is.
you do. I know. And then Jeff, I want somebody just to sit on Jeff for a bit, just chill. All right, now before we get on to our next topic, we gotta go into our ads. Like we mentioned, we are officially the Eagles podcast for the Pigskin Network, and we are here to really just make sure that we are providing you with the best content possible because we really enjoy the support of our fans. All right, now hey, Sixers fans, we were talking about earlier, okay? The latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is too good to pass up. I'm talking between the legs, 360 windmill good. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy basketball contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total cash prizes with their first deposit. Okay? How do you get this amazing deal? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using the promo code TPPN. Right now, we see it scrolling on the bottom. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code TPPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and older, minimum age, location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $55 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call or text the TN red line 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE New York or text HOPE New York 467369. All right. Now, I want to get into, as we've been talking about, right? The Eagles got draft needs and then we have free agent needs, okay? So we've mentioned certain positions that we like to have them target in the draft. I want to get into positions that you think we need to target in the free agency because I do think that there's a lot of ways, like, while I don't like how he drafts, like, I can't stand his drafting ability, his free agent ability is really good. Like, he's good at picking up free agents and have, because other people draft well. So he's good at being able to pick to pick up somebody else's success story. So I really want to get into, who do you feel like are good targets, or what positions do you feel like are good targets for the Eagles in this upcoming free agency period?
I really like Houston Texans safety DJ Reed Jr. Um, I wanted the Eagles to draft him, and they missed out. He was drafted in the second round. Great safety, sideline to sideline. Like, um, I think he was in the top 25 of Pro Football Focus players under 25 or something like that. Could be had for a modest 3-year, like maybe 8 to 10 a year, 10 million a year. Good foundational piece that we can add if we choose to do that before the draft. Um, really think we need to get a defensive end. And I saw a story today that really made me smile. Uh, they linked the Eagles to signing former Kansas City Chief, Indianapolis Colts defensive end Justin Houston. And Justin Houston,
I like Justin
I
Houston.
I personally liked him when he first came on with the Chiefs. He reminded me of Derek Thomas a lot, and I was like, damn, I love DT. I was like, damn, this dude is nice. But Justin Houston, he's 32, but he had 5.5 sacks last year, 13 tackles for loss. Like the guy could still has gas. Look at Brandon Graham. He's a little long in the too, but he doesn't have a lot of tread. And Justin Houston has had years where he was healthy. Then has had a little injury bug here and there, but will be a valuable vet to that locker room. Somebody that's dependable, somebody you can trust. And actually overlap Sirianni in Indianapolis.
Mm,
That's a big. So I think Justin
that's a big one.
good, good. Oh man, one of the best. Um,
See, I like your options, but for me, if the draft is going to be addressing defense, I want to go offense on the on free agency because I feel like history shows us that Howie doesn't do great with drafting receivers. So instead of like I hear the receiver class is loaded, but leave it to Howie to draft the prospect that doesn't pan out. Because we've heard that song and dance before, that this draft is loaded with this and this draft is loaded with that. And then we come to our pick and we're uh, we're picking Mac Hollins or
J.J. Golden, third round. I
right,
didn't even
right.
have.
Or JJ Arthega Whiteside because somehow we need a Alshon Jeffries type receiver when we already have Alshon. Anyway, I really want to attack the wide receiver position. I think there are a couple of names out there that might be open. I think the Falcons have a wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Is it Sanders?
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley, exactly. He's got Calvin Ridley might be available via trade. I'd be very interested to look into that. Um, I mean I know Odell's rehabbing, but so I'm not really looking into to him. But there are a couple of different wide receivers I think that might be coming open and we could really look into. There may be a couple of running backs we could get for a cheap because we need a bruiser. Like I do think that Miles is still coming into his own a little bit, but we need a bruiser, we need a pounder. I'd be happy to bring Jordan Howard back on another minimum deal, but I need something way more consistent. Just someone that can just be that wear your team down. And we frankly need a second tight end. I don't necessarily want to address it in the draft. Like I'm here to there with it because it's another situation gearing up similar to what happened with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goddard. So I don't want to do that again. But we do need a second tight end. I don't think bringing back Richard Rodgers for like the fifth or sixth time is gonna cut it anymore, or their attempt to keep trying to change change cross train these players at different positions. Tyree Jackson, blah blah blah. Like I'm draft a bona fide or sorry draft sign a bona fide tight end, please.
Would you want more of a move tight end or inline blocker tight end?
No, a move
Like the
tight
move
end. A move tight end. Yeah,
Chelsea.
because Dallas blocks well, And I'm not saying that Dallas doesn't move well too, but I do think that it's pretty obvious how our offense is funneled. Our offense is funneled through Devontae Smith and Dallas Goddard. And I do think that it's just very easy to eliminate them and then really just squeeze our entire our entire scheme, especially with some of Jalen's limitations. And so maybe if he can improve, a lot of these things will be different next season. But I do think it would definitely behoove the Eagles to look into getting another backup tight end.
There's a good one that just came to mind. in the draft. Back to the draft.
Mm,
Uh, University of Maryland. They have a tight end, Okanawu Ojulari.
mm.
He was second on the team in receiving. Had like 639 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was all Big Ten, all Big 12, no, all Big Ten tight end for my University of Maryland, and he's a move tight end. His profile is similar to David Njoku, and could be had in fifth, sixth round. I think it'd be
Interesting.
perfect.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely think we could address that. And then sneakily enough, we always address the old line, but now that Brandon Brooks has retired, one of the best ever do it, we do have a sneaky need for a right guard. I think maybe we could slot Isaac Samahu in that position. And that might work. I wonder how he would feel to switch after being the left guard for so long. But I don't think Lane Dickerson does well at right guard. Like he's much better as a left guard and a center than he is as a right guard. But maybe he can improve. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with the line. Um, when it comes to QB, we could talk about it in a free agent aspect, but there are no free agent QBs that are good. If we're trading for a QB or we're sticking with Jalen Hurts, like those are pretty much our options right now. I mean, maybe a QB gets picked up in the draft, but I can't imagine it's getting picked up high. Like I just can't see the Eagles expending a second or another second round pick on a QB.
Did you see they were enamored? Howie was enamored with Malik, the quarterback from Liberty.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. I did hear that. I,
Yeah.
yeah, but I just remember when we drafted Carson and just how much work went into, like, it was just so obvious we were gonna draft a QB, and how present Jeff Lurie was to that whole process. So to me, I won't my interest won't start peaking up to any of these QBs in the draft until I start seeing Jeff sniff around. When you start seeing Jeff sniff around, then it's kind of serious, right? And I think they have mentioned that his son is actually having a little bit more of a prominent role in things. So that will be interesting to see. I think slowly but surely we never quite talk about it, but the Eagles are turning more into Jerry Jones esque than we'd like to think. Um, unlike other um professional billionaire owners of the NFL, the Jeff Lurie has this, and he has his production company. Like he's not really doing too much. So I do think that he's very much way more involved into day to day aspects of things than we know, and I think that he is way more in a lot of these spaces with these players than we know, and I do think that's something to keep an eye on if you're trying to find out is our team, the Eagles, looking into a QB this upcoming draft.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And Julian was at the Senior Bowl, and they're to him watching uh, the quarterbacks throw at the Senior Bowl. I think one of the last practices of the Senior Bowl, and I think it's going to be handed the keys once Jeffrey's ready to step away. And he went through a program to understand the game, and let's see.
We'll
But
see. We'll see. I'm sure he has ambitions to take over the team one day. When that time comes, and starting the process early isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just wonder about the idea of having this extremely young professional. I understand he's educated young man. Be in these spaces with some of these, more seasoned professionals, and how does that look to kind of you know have him override your
your
actual
actual
um hired professional. Like if Julian is overruling the personnel department, there's a problem with that. That's what we'll see.
That dynamic. I'm with you on that.
Right. All right. So before we get out of here for tonight, okay, we're bringing back a fan favorite, our Eagle of the Week. Okay, my guy John's got a former Eagle or current Eagle. I'm not sure which one. I'm anticipating it just as much as y'all are. That he is going to wow us with just going over why that Eagle is just why that player is just a consummate Eagle, and why we definitely always ride hard for him. So without further ado, go ahead, John.
Thank you, Steph. This Eagle holds a dear place in all Eagles fans' hearts. We mentioned a player of this player's like previously tonight, and when you go to a team and you go to wear a Legends jersey, they willfully give it up. That says a lot about that player. And the person I'm talking about is the 3-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Fame, Eagles legend, Harold Carmichael. This dude went to Southern University, walked on to the Southern University football team. Not only did he play football, he played basketball. He was a center. And not only did he play basketball, he ran track too. And he walked onto the football team. And they started off as a tight end, was second in the team receiving, and became he won a few all conference. He made an all conference team. Got drafted late by the Eagles, and they originally had him at tight end. He had the most receiving yards. He led the league in receiving his rookie year. They moved him to tight end, and they had problems with their starting quarterback. They drafted Ron Jaworski, and the rest is history. That really lamented his history. At the time of Harold Carmichael's retirement, he was fifth all time in touchdown catches.
Wow.
This guy should not have waited this long to get in the Hall of Fame. He is actually the tallest receiver to ever play in the NFL, 6'8".
Wow.
And he's enshrined as an NFL legend and an Eagles legend of all time. Here's to Harold Carmichael. Great career. And he's still involved with the Eagles as an alumni, and he was the liaison to the affairs for a long time. So salute to him. Harold Carmichael, you're the man. We love you. Thank you for everything you did for us.
Absolutely. Harold Carmichael is our Eagle of the Week, and John chose a very, very good one. Recent inductee into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We definitely appreciate everything Harold Carmichael offered to the game of football and also to the city of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Eagles. So that has been another great, even with all the technical difficulties, great episode of Three Birds and a Punt. Please make sure you subscribe and download the podcast. Stream it on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Megaphone, or wherever you get your podcast. Okay, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, as you can see scrolling along the bottom. Okay, all right, and download our YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube account. Okay, this has been another episode of Three Birds and a Punt. I am your girl at Afia at According to Afia on Twitter. You can follow me down there. Okay. We're missing our boy Whip, but he'll be back next week. And you can follow him at Mary Jane's Gimp on Twitter. And finally, but certainly not surely and finally, messed that up. You can follow my boy John Monroe Jr. at John Monroe Jr. on Twitter. All right. Anything you got to say to the fans before we cut out here today, John?
Thank you for having us. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be back. Eagle, go Birds. We're going to get it. Let's go. Let's go Sixers. Come on.
Let's go Sixers. Harden Day. Let's
Harden.
get it. All right. Go Birds.
Go Birds.